Good evening again, and welcome to our honored guests, members of Congress, journalism colleagues, and friends. Again, I'm Ellen Shearer of Medill News Service, and I'm president of the Washington Press Club Foundation. This is our This is our 68th annual Congressional dinner. It's an opportunity to be reminded of the great women journalists who set standards of excellence in reporting for all of us in Washington. And it's a chance to get out our party clothes. Who knew a group of reporters could look this good? Before we get to our program tonight, I want to introduce our distinguished head table. Please hold off your applause until I finish the introductions. I'll start at my far left, your right. Julie Davis of Bloomberg, our foundation's secretary. House Republican Conference Secretary John Carter of Texas. Congresswoman Linda Sanchez of California, a speaker tonight. David Myers of CQ Roll Call, Foundation Vice President and one of our dinner co-chairs. Senator Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire, one of our speakers tonight. Senator John Cornyn of Texas, the chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Our Master of Ceremonies, Dana Milbank of the Washington Post. House Minority Whip Steny Hoyer of Maryland. Dina Bunis of CQ Roll Call, our other tireless dinner co-chair. Congressman Billy Long of Missouri, one of tonight's speakers. Edie Lederer, the winner of tonight's Lifetime Achievement Award. Sheila Casey, our treasurer. And Senator Charles Schumer of New York, the vice chairman of the Democratic Conference. Let's give our head table a round of applause. Before we get to our speakers, I have a few thank yous. First, a special debt of gratitude to our dinner committee and in particular to our dinner co-chairs, the dynamic duo of Dina Bunis and David Myers. And of course, huge thanks to our incredible executive director, Suzanne Perrone, who every year performs magic to give us this wonderful evening. Thank you, Suzanne. I also want to take a moment to thank the foundation's sponsors and friends. Their support makes the work of our foundation possible and helps us put on tonight's event. They are Toyota, The Hill, CQ Roll Call, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Ford Motor Company, United Healthcare, the American Petroleum Institute, the National Beer Wholesalers Association, AARP, and Honeywell. Thank you. Many thanks to Daryl Cagle for providing the cover art for our program, to the Associated Press for tonight's Lifetime Achievement Award video, and to the Huffington Post for the video we just saw. And of course, the Mandarin Oriental Hotel and its wonderful staff. We have a terrific program tonight, and when it's over, the Hill promises to keep the fun going with an after party. You'll get a special bipartisan treat tonight. The Second Amendments will be performing, featuring Congressman Colin Peterson, Stephen Fincher, and Thaddeus McCotter. The Washington Press Club Foundation is more than 90 years old. It began as the Women's National Press Club when some pretty courageous women journalists wanted to establish their place in an otherwise male-dominated business. Upholding their legacy and continuing its traditions in today's journalism world are the cornerstones of our foundation. Our mission is to carry on the original Women's National Press Club goals of equality, scholarship, and excellence in journalism. In keeping with that mission, the proceeds of tonight's dinner go to the Foundation's charitable projects, including collecting the oral histories of pioneering women journalists and a successful internship program with our partners, the New York Times, BET, Dow Jones Newswires, the Houston Chronicle, and the Los Angeles Times. I'm pleased to announce tonight that our board has voted to increase our internship program. So this year we can offer 7 $6,000 summer internships. We provide the funding for interns to work at media outlets around Washington. Our hope is that these young journalists will carry on the tradition of excellence in Washington reporting that was the hallmark of our founders. It is now my pleasure and my distinct relief to leave our program in the more able hands of our MC, Dana Milbank. As you all know, Dana is a columnist at the Washington Post. He's also written several books, most recently, Tears of a Clown, Glenn Beck and the Teabagging of America. Dana's pointed insights are always delivered with wit. And he doesn't just aim at politicians. The ways of the media also come in for their fair share of scrutiny. For instance, a recent column noted that reporters seem to outnumber voters during events at the New Hampshire primary. And he uncovered the reason: non-refundable hotel rooms. We are most grateful to Dana for taking time from his column and emceeing our event tonight. Mr. Milbank, over to you.
Well, thank you, Ellen. I'd like to add my thanks as well to those organizations that made tonight's dinner possible, and I'd like to give credit to one more, Countrywide Financial, for generously sponsoring Buck McKeon and other underprivileged members of Congress, thereby making it possible for so many of them to be with us here tonight. For those members seeking more information on securing sponsorship from organizations such as Countrywide, please stop by the dais and consult with Congresswoman Sanchez, the ranking member of the Ethics Committee. I'd also like to recognize the several hundred people here tonight from Bloomberg News and thank that organization for its generosity to all Washington journalists. As one whose newspaper just today announced a new round of buyouts, I can say with authority that there are only 2 types of journalists in this room: those who work for Bloomberg and those who do not yet work for Bloomberg. On a personal note, I extend special appreciation in advance to 2 gentlemen on the dais this evening for their good behavior. Now, it's often said that the most dangerous place in Washington is between Chuck Schumer and a microphone. It's also commonly said that the second most dangerous place in Washington is between Big John Cornyn and a microphone. I point out that neither gentleman has a speaking role this evening, and being between both of them and the microphone, I applaud their restraint. I'm also grateful to Republican Conference Secretary John Carter for checking my documents and confirming that I am, in fact, constitutionally eligible to speak to you this evening. A couple of housekeeping announcements before we begin. Chairman Darrell Issa is on the premises tonight. So if you drove here, please make sure you've locked your car and enabled the alarm. Also, we have a late scratch from tonight's guest list. Congressman Jeff Fleming was hoping to be here but had to cancel because he's at his office spreading word on Facebook about an emerging scandal he read about this afternoon in The Onion. Obama criticized for living in lavish mansion while most Americans struggle to make ends meet. A 132-room estate includes personal chef, 24-hour security detail. So This is the beginning of the silly season in Washington when journalists and politicians put on formal clothing, go to swank hotels, eat food that Herman Cain would describe as delicious if he knew how to speak Cuban, and generally give the nation the impression that, like Mitt Romney, we're not concerned about the very poor. But the Washington Press Club Foundation is different. As Ellen noted, it has worked for decades to establish an equal place for women in newsrooms, and over the years it has brought pressure to change the backward, old boy clubby practices of prestigious all-male bastions, first the National Press Club, then the Gridiron Club, and now Politico. Tonight, we honor one woman of high achievement with the David Lynch Memorial Regional Reporting Award, named for the late congressional reporter for the Buffalo News and given annually to recognize excellence in coverage of Congress from a regional perspective. This year's winner, Karun Demirjian of the Las Vegas Sun, is being honored for her thoroughly researched and well-written coverage of the Nevada Congressional delegation. The judges determined that she decoded the sometimes impenetrable ways of Congress for her readers, covering issues and personalities in depth. Her writing, the judges wrote, is fresh and easy and a joy to read, and her stories offered news that the Sun's readers need but aren't going to find anywhere else. Please join me in congratulating Karun Demirjian. Now, the AP's Edie Lederer has seen it all in her nearly 50 years in journalism. The Vietnam War and Rick Santorum's sweep of Minnesota, Missouri, and Colorado. Famine, political upheaval, and Roseanne Barr's presidential bid. Tonight, she takes her place beside legends such as Mary McGrory, Helen Dewar, and Helen Thomas in receiving the WPCF Lifetime Achievement Award. The award is based on the ideals of the founders of the WPCF's forerunner, the Women's National Press Club, that the voice of the press should be as diverse as the readers it serves. Please watch this tribute to Edie, produced by the Associated Press.
Edie Lederer has spent a career questioning the most powerful people in the world.
What's been happening at the UN?
But there was a time when a career as a foreign correspondent and a war correspondent seemed unlikely.
Every year you would get a form from AP that basically asked what you wanted to do. I always wrote that I wanted to be a foreign correspondent, but it was impossible at that time because in order to be a foreign correspondent, you had to work on the foreign desk. And AP's foreign editor at that time refused to have a woman on the foreign desk.
For many young reporters covering Bobby Kennedy's New York Senate campaign and being transferred to San Francisco in the late 1960s would have been exciting enough, but not for Edie.
It was the middle of the Vietnam War, and I'd been covering Vietnam War protests, and I had accumulated a lot of vacation. And I went and bought an around-the-world ticket with one of my girlfriends on Pan Am. We decided to stop in Vietnam to see what the war was like, without telling our parents, of course.
The AP's then bureau chief in Saigon, Richard Pyle, had long been lobbying AP President Wes Gallagher for a female correspondent, and when he met Edie, he knew he had found the right woman for the job.
Out of the blue, I get a phone call from Wes Gallagher asking me if I'd like to go to Saigon, bypassing the foreign desk.
Vietnam would launch Edie's career as a foreign correspondent. For the next 25 years, Edie seemed to be wherever news was happening. The Yom Kippur War, the fall of the Soviet Union, the genocide in Rwanda, the U.S. Embassy bombing in Nairobi. And in 1991, Edie again found herself on the front lines of history when she wrote the first bulletin announcing the beginning of the First Gulf War. For the last 12 years, Edie has been the AP's chief United Nations correspondent. From New York to Saigon, Lima to London, Edie has left an indelible impression on all those she's worked with.
She likes nothing more than finding news and reporting it, and she does it with this little smile, and as she's typing, she types, and she'll read out loud what she's typing, and she'll say, "Yeah, you like it? You like it?" And then she'll do some more. She's just, she's just Edie. There's no one else quite like her.
Even after nearly 50 years of reporting, Edie hasn't slowed a bit, and if you ask her, she still has some work yet to do.
I think that there are still many doors for women to go through, and a glass ceiling that's still pretty hard, not just in the news business, but elsewhere. But I'm going to keep pushing, and I hope that the world will keep pushing to ensure that women have an equal place in the sun.
Congratulations, Edie. Another award in your outstanding career. Many people remember your bravery in Vietnam. I could never forget when you were injured sliding out of a plane in Africa. Your ankle was fractured, but you never let that slow you down. You kept chasing the news. You even used a scooter. Edie, you cover the most important issues facing our world. War and peace, of course, but also the health of mothers, the diseases that kill children, the silent emergencies like hunger and poverty that are destroying millions of lives. You tell the world these stories of suffering. You shine a light in the darkness. You make a difference with your work. You do all this with objectivity, professionalism, and passion. I have to admit, and I'm sometimes intimidated by your tough questions. But more than that, I'm charmed by your smile and your warmth. Thank you, Edie, for everything that you do. And congratulations on this wonderful honor.
So as you just heard, Edie achieved many firsts in her storied career. First woman to be assigned full-time to the AP staff reporting the Vietnam War. First woman to head a foreign bureau, Peru, for the AP. Throughout this time, she covered major international stories, but always with a sense of how these events affect the average person at home. Women have proven that they can cover big breaking news combat stories, she said, but because we live in a world where there is still no gender equality, women have a different perspective of the world than men do, and I think that women bring that perspective to reporting. Edie, congratulations on your storied career, and please come say a few words.
Thank you all very much. I am thrilled and honored to receive the Washington Press Club Foundation's Lifetime Achievement Award. There is no greater recognition than that of your peers. And that is why I am truly humbled, especially when I look out at the women in the media in this audience who have made such an outstanding and lasting contribution to the reporting of the ups and downs of political life in our nation's capital. But I must confess, I would like to see a lot more women senators and representatives in the halls of Congress and at this dinner. In the Inter-Parliamentary Union's latest global ranking of women in parliaments, the United States was ranked number 71 of the 188 countries surveyed. According to their report, about 17% of Congress is female. Compare that to Rwanda, where women hold 56% of seats in parliament. South Africa, where nearly 45% of parliamentarians are female. Or Mexico and Iraq, where over 25% of lawmakers are women. When I look back at my life, I realize how lucky I was to come of age at the dawn of the women's liberation movement, and to have a mother who was a teacher and encouraged me to live my dream. She celebrated her 100th birthday in December and wished she could be here tonight. But unfortunately, she isn't traveling much these days. At a time when it was very easy to count the number of women reporting hard news, I was hired by the Associated Press in New York City in 1966 as a temporary fill-in to cover local news. My temporary assignment has lasted nearly 47 years. When I joined AP, reporters wrote on typewriters, and in my early years overseas, I often filed by telex. There were pressures to file quickly, but not the intense pressure of today's highly competitive media world. We are now instantly connected by cell phones, sat phones, 24/7 news on television, internet websites, thousands of blogs, and nonstop tweets. But I often ask myself, have we made progress in providing understanding of events, both domestic and international? And I am concerned that standards for accuracy, objectivity, and grammar have slipped. I also worry that celebrity journalism dominates today's media, and the space for international news has shrunk. How are young Americans going to compete in this new interconnected world if their knowledge is superficial? And what does that mean for America's future global leadership? Before I close, I would like to thank the Associated Press for giving me so many opportunities to live my dream. I have had a privileged seat in that front row of history. I have reported on wars from Vietnam and Afghanistan to the Mideast and Bosnia. I have watched people collapse and die of starvation in Ethiopia and Somalia. And I have seen the butchery of the Rwanda genocide. In my current job as AP's chief correspondent at the United Nations, I have written about the diplomatic side of conflicts from Iraq to Congo and most recently Syria. I've reported on the nuclear ambitions of Iran and North Korea, and I have written about the growing disparities in a world where over 1 billion people go to bed hungry every night, while another 1.5 billion are overweight or obese, and a tiny percentage enjoy unimaginable riches. When I look back at all the death, despair, and dissension I have seen in my life, I have often asked myself, what would make a difference? My best answer is just one word: tolerance. And I ask you all, wouldn't it be wonderful if every child in the world was required to be taught from a very young age to be tolerant of other people's race, religion, ethnicity, gender, and political beliefs? That's my dream for the future, because it would almost certainly lead to a more peaceful world. And on that note, I would like to thank the Washington Press Club Foundation again for this wonderful award. Thank you all.
Thus ends the substantial and inspirational part of our program.
But tell the audience to have tolerance.
I'd like to begin my remarks tonight in the traditional way. I'm so in love with you. Well, maybe not. Now, President Obama's Al Green performance at the Apollo seemed to work well for him, so much so that Steny Hoyer's House Democrats recorded their own version of Let's Stay Together and presented it to Obama at their retreat. They haven't released a recording publicly, so I would like to call now on Steny Hoyer to sing it for us. Mr. Webb. Well, I think he's saving his performance to join the after party with Congressman McCotter's band. Now, unfortunately for the House Democrats, the lyrics did leak out, and now we know exactly why they were trying so hard to keep the thing under wraps in the first place. They were, "We're so in love with you, we're going to help you make it through by turning the red states blue. You make us feel so darn proud. We want to shout it out loud. Let's bring the country together, supporting you whether times are good or bad, happy or sad." Now, who writes this stuff? Pete Hoekstra's ad makers? This is the clearest indication yet that the House Democrats are not yet ready to be trusted with power again. The Senate Democrats, meanwhile, have power but seem determined to lose it based on the signals they've been sending out. They held their own retreat today at, of all places, Nationals Park. Now, Senator Schumer, you're aware that the Nationals haven't had a winning season since they moved here 7 years ago. Evidently, Harry Reid aspires to be the Manny Acta of the Senate. But since the Al Green thing played so well for Obama, I'm thinking some of this, his would-be opponents might want to give it a try, particularly because their own musical selections are proving problematic. Newt is being sued for using Eye of the Tiger. Nothing good has come of Romney's performance of Who Let the Dogs Out. And Michelle Bachmann got in trouble with Tom Petty for using American Girl. So let's try some Al Green tunes instead. Bachmann could sing to the Tea Party voters, "You Ought to Be With Me." Senator Rob Portman, who took a break from his campaign for the vice presidential nomination so he could be here with us tonight, could sing, "Here I Am, Come Take Me." Newt could go with "Let's Get Married." Santorum might try "Could I Be the One?" And Romney would sing "Ain't No Fun for Me." John Huntsman could sing to voters "Don't Hurt Me No More." Herman Cain would croon "I Stand Accused." Rick Perry might feel better singing "I'm Gonna Forget About You," and Ron Paul could go with "The End Is Near." Closer to home, Speaker Boehner would do well with "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry." after which Eric Cantor would sing, "Keep Crying." Now, much has happened on Capitol Hill since last we assembled in this room. The day of last year's dinner, Congressman Chris Lee had resigned just hours before because of shirtless photos he sent to a woman he found on Craigslist. We have no equivalent scandal to discuss this evening, although another hunk with ties to Western New York has graciously agreed to pose for shirtless photos. Ladies, I'm told Luke Russert is at table 16. Now, Congressman Fleming, if you're watching on C-SPAN, I'm just kidding. Luke is at table 15. Now, let us pause to recall with fondness some of those who, in the last year, were taken from us too soon. Anthony Weiner, John Ensign, David Wu. Thank you for that. Just yesterday, the newest member of Congress, Suzanne Bonamici, was sworn in to replace Congressman Wu, but it will be hard to fill that tiger suit. Bonamici apparently has yet to earn her stripes because she wore a sensible red jacket for the ceremony. Now, speaking of sensible, our first speaker tonight, Jeanne Shaheen, is a paragon of good judgment, the most junior senior senator in the Senate. She comes from New Hampshire, the place where, as we who covered the Bachmann campaign now know, the first shots of the American Revolution were fired. Before coming to the Senate, she served for years as the popular governor of that state, and she showed her political acumen by supporting the campaigns of President Al Gore, President John Kerry, and President Hillary Clinton. Most recently, she lost a Super Bowl wager with Senator Schumer and has to buy every member of the Senate a bottle of New York brewed beer. Now, Senator, I hereby volunteer to take Orrin Hatch's bottle. Before losing that bet, her office was directed by the Senate Rules Committee to take down Go Patriot signs displayed in her Senate office windows. Now, come to think of it, the Senate Rules Committee is controlled by Chairman Chuck Schumer. Senator Shaheen claims some local roots. She believes she is a direct descendant of Pocahontas. This background may come in handy because, given the way things are looking for Senate Democrats, she may soon be spending some time in the wilderness. Senator?
Thank you, Dana. Since I'm really not very well known in Washington, let me tell you a little about myself. Shaheen is actually my married name. Shaheen is Lebanese for Judd Gregg without the wild side. Back home, I've been called the Betty Crocker of New Hampshire politics, which is a whole lot nicer than some of the things Dana Milbank has been called. Another thing about me, Politico named me one of the most frugal senators. I believe a fool and his money are soon parted. But enough about Sheldon Adelson.
All right. Hit him again.
That was good. I'm a huge movie fan. I finally got to see Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. You know, the Chris Matthews interview with John Sununu. My husband Billy is here tonight. I've been married to Billy for over 42 years. That's the equivalent of 210 Kim Kardashian marriages. We do try to maintain our privacy, though, so please don't ask me whether Billy has ever proposed an open marriage. I have the proof that he hasn't. He's still breathing. Sometimes it's hard being a first-term senator. No one pays attention to you. And, you know, you can be out of a job like that. I feel like a print reporter. I want to take a minute and acknowledge some of the people who are here tonight. There are two legendary Democrats on the dais. Steny Hoyer's here to give me support. And Chuck Schumer is here because there's press. GQ just named the 50 most powerful people in Washington, and Chuck Schumer is number 17. If I were one of the first 16, I'd get a food taster. It's such a thrill. It's such a thrill to be here in Washington with so many power players, like John Cornyn. Senator Cornyn is truly an inspiration. Not only does he work tirelessly for the people of Texas, but he still finds time to tutor Rick Perry. Congressman Billy Long is here. Billy and I were both born in Missouri, the Show Me State. Of course, I don't think that's the best slogan for anyone anymore, not since Anthony Weiner. Linda Sanchez is here. She's from California, which is really different from New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, we know who all our governor's children are. I'd hoped President Obama could be here tonight, but apparently it was a deal breaker when he found out there was a no teleprompter rule. I've told you a little about me. Now I'd like to tell you a little about my home state of New Hampshire. Did you know that the alarm clock was invented in New Hampshire? And it's a good thing, because without the alarm clock, there'd be nothing to wake us up from a Harry Reid caucus. Something else about New Hampshire. We are experts at presidential politics. So here's the advanced scoop on who's going to be a presidential candidate in 2016. Nancy Pelosi will resign her leadership post and campaign for president after getting 2 million emails urging her to run, all from Steny Hoyer.
Go get him, Teen.
Donald Trump will run, but there will be a scandal. Although he was born in America, his hair was made overseas. Chris Christie will be running for president. Well, technically, he'll be lumbering. And I just found out that Valerie Jarrett is not running for president. She just doesn't want to give up that much power. There are so many great moments in New Hampshire political history. Some you know and some you don't. In 1972 in Manchester, Ed Muskie cried in public. Today, John Boehner calls him a trailblazer. In 1980, Ronald Reagan demanded that they not turn off his microphone. Since then, President Obama has repeatedly demanded that they turn off Joe Biden's microphone. And in 2012, Michelle Bachmann got her facts wrong about the American Revolution, which she thought started in Concord, New Hampshire. But that wasn't her only mistake. She thought Pittsburgh, Kansas was home to the Steelers. Paris, Texas was home to the Eiffel Tower. And she tried to pray away French Lick, Indiana. And believe me, you don't even want to know what she thought about Intercourse, Pennsylvania. I hope you'll all be up in New Hampshire in 4 years for our next primary. And to help you find your way around, we have a little picture guide. This is the Red Arrow Diner, a famous New Hampshire political hangout since 1922. What you don't know about it, the average tip is higher than Mitt Romney's tax rate. This is the white birch, the official state tree of New Hampshire. What you don't know, this tree finished ahead of Rick Perry in our primary. It also beat him in a debate. This is Franklin Pierce, the only person from New Hampshire ever elected president. What you don't know, in 1852, he defeated John McCain. This is our state motto, live free or die. What you don't know, the original motto was never pay retail. This is Vermin Supreme. He actually got 837 votes in this year's primary. What you don't know, there's still a 50-50 chance the GOP convention could turn to Vermin Supreme. And this is the spotted newt, the official state amphibian of New Hampshire. What you don't know, this newt actually mates for life. Thank you all very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Senator. I don't know if you all noticed the palpable wave of relief that swept over the dais when Senator Schumer came in late, thereby saving dozens of jokes. Now, it has long been said that Congress is for sale to the highest bidder, but now they've made it official. Last year, they brought in an auctioneer to run the sale. There he is. Congressman Billy Long, a freshman Republican from Missouri, has been inducted into the Missouri Auctioneers Hall of Fame. The cowboy hat-wearing lawmaker sold his first item at a public auction, an automobile, in 1979, and went on to careers in real estate and as a talk radio host. Long also participated in the professional World Poker Tour. His life as a gambler, a salesman, and a talker made for a seamless transition to Congress. Part of the freshman class of 2010, Long demonstrated his political skills by endorsing Mitt Romney last month, which propelled Romney all the way to finishing 30 percentage points behind Santorum in Long's Missouri last night. Long has also distinguished himself in his use of social media. Under the Twitter handle Auctioneer1, he earned nationwide attention last year with an errant tweet linking the deceased Amy Winehouse and the federal debt. We can only hope he has more such material for us this evening. Congressman.
Thank you, and thank you, Dana. It's, you got a speech out here. It is certainly an honor to be in a room full of this many conservatives. And I just want to thank my co-host today, Governor Huckabee, for inviting me to this CPAC convention. Oh, wait a minute. Where's my press guy? You gave me the wrong, there it is. Excuse me, I'm sorry, let's start over. Well, my name is Billy Long, but none of you know me. That much I can prove, and I'm going to do that right now. My chief of staff, my LD, decided when I first got to Congress that couldn't go on TV, couldn't go on any cable shows, couldn't do anything. They kept me in a secure location where no one could find me. But this is my coming out party tonight. So if you want to interview me, get me on cable TV, do a press interview, I'm here. Don't invite me unless you want me to show up, because I will be there. But I truly am. I am what they call the unknown congressman, a Mr. Cellophane, if you will, from Chicago. You remember Mr. Cellophane? Nobody sees me. Nobody knows my name. That's me. And although no one knows me, because I've never appeared on TV except back during May in the tragic Joplin tornado. I was on CNN a couple of times reporting from there, but other than that, I've never been on cable TV. But everybody thinks they see me every single day. I don't know if I have a familiar face or what it is. But people truly every day stop me and want to talk about the TV report I was on the day before or whatever. I get stopped all the time by people telling me how much they enjoy seeing me on TV, on my TV appearances. I'm not making this stuff up. If I was, it'd be funny. But it's not me. Most of the time, it's usually this guy. Mike Kelly, Pennsylvania. Him and John King have something going on. He's on John King's show every other night. He is the hottest thing in cable TV. Mike Kelly, my buddy Mike. People call him Billy, they call me Mike. Truly get us mixed up. Now, there is a guy they never get me confused with. This guy. Now, thankfully, I don't look like that. Mike McCall, the richest guy in Congress. But he's always coming up to, I'm not making this stuff up. He's always coming up to me saying, Billy, my wife loves you. Now, when the richest guy in Congress's wife loves you, you don't argue. Said, she saw you on TV yesterday, saw you on there. She loves it when you're on, you're so irreverent. You're always on there talking about Fast and Furious. Do you think Mike's wife was talking about me? No, she was talking about this guy. I'm not making it up, Blake Farenthold. Goodness gracious. And if it's not Mike and it's not Blake talking about Fast and Furious, chances are pretty good it's this guy. Tom Reed. I walked in the Capitol the other day. This is not a Billy Long lie. This is the truth. Walked in the Capitol. The Capitol Police stopped me at the screening machine. Said, oh, saw you on C-SPAN this morning. Saw you on C-SPAN. I said, yeah, thank you. I go upstairs, I check with Kelly. Mike, were you on C-SPAN this morning? No, wasn't. Blake Farenthold, were you on C-SPAN? No, it wasn't me. Well, Tom, I guess you were on C-SPAN this morning. Yeah, did you see me? I said, no, but the cops did, and they liked you. Oh, they even get me mixed up with this guy. Now, during South Carolina, this guy was on TV, Tim Scott. I mean, he led the press around down there. He was on 4,200 TV shows because who you going to endorse? Who you going to endorse? He wouldn't tell them because that was the whole thing. So for weeks on end, people were coming up to me, have you decided who you're going to endorse in South Carolina? Goodness gracious. But like I say, none of you have ever seen me before tonight, but if you want me on your show, call, I'll be there. Now here's one guy they never confuse me with. This guy. Aaron Schock voted the best abs in Congress, but I got a problem with this, I got to tell you. How can they prove he had the best abs in Congress because they never wanted to see mine? You know, at the time I suggested we start a second ab scam investigation. Now, see, Stinny's old enough to remember that. 68 dinners, and this is his 65th. He's been here. He leaned over and told me a while ago. Good to have you here, Stinny.
Good to be with you, whoever you are.
Now, that was funny. Even for a Democrat. Speaking about funny, why am I the only Republican up here? Do we have no Republican senators with a sense of humor? Don't answer that. I know we don't. Do we even have any Republican senators with a personality? Don't answer that either. Oh, goodness gracious. Where was I here? I did Aaron Schock and ab scam. All right. Now, here's another picture I want to show you. It's me and Chris Christie. What's so funny about that? Now, I got to tell you, it is funny, but it's not funny for the reason you think it's funny. It's funny because I'm not the one that wanted the picture taken. This was in Baltimore at our Republican retreat a couple of weeks ago. Chris comes up to me and he says, Congressman, could I have my picture taken with you? And I was sure, I'm honored, thinking he knows who I am. And I said, well, why do you want your picture taken with me? And he said, oh, I want to hang it in my office, in the governor's office. Really? Why would you want a picture of me, somebody nobody knows, with you in the governor's office? He said, because, Bobby, he said, I have never had someone look at a picture and say, hey, who's the big guy with Christie? I'm done with that page. I'm going to change the page. Are you keeping up with this? All right. Where'd my water go? All right, now here's just one more to prove my point, then we'll move on. These people that set this up, they said, you got to do all your slides together. You can't, that's the only way we can do it, so we're doing all of our slides together, whatever they call. They're not slides anymore. What do they call them? PowerPoints. Thank you, Stinny. Now here's one more to prove my point, okay? This slide here. This was taken last Saturday night. A big victory for Mitt Romney. We are in the hotel suite, you know, where all the big muckety-mucks that support him go, and we're up there in the suite after his big celebration announcement talking about how good he done in the election that night. And he says, and I'm very honored here to have 5 members of Congress with me. And I'd like to thank Senator John Thune. John, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And Representative Jeff Flake over here. Jeff, I really, really thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate your support. And this is Representative Joe Heck over here. For those of you that don't know, Joe is a freshman Republican. Glad to have Representative Heck here. And Jason Shavitz, Representative Shavitz, he has traveled all over the country with us. And we have Representative, oops. I really thought Ron Paul would run in and say, Department of Energy. But thankfully, somebody said that's Representative Long, and I'm not making this up. He said, and Representative Billy Long. Oh, goodness gracious. Now, I don't know, have you seen Hillary's new hairdo? Have you seen Hillary's new hairdo? Some have, some haven't, some don't want me to talk about it. All right, it'll just be that way. But, you know, I'm watching her in this new hairdo, and I'm like, what's going on? There's got to be something going on here. Finally, it dawned on me. I think that Hillary is getting her Ruth Bader Ginsburg on and is bucking to go on the Supreme Court. What do you think? Is that not the same hairdo? And now, since they told me that I have to do all my pictures at once, this is not my last one. I'm coming up on my last picture here. I went to Israel last summer. And when I was young, man, growing up, 20, 21, 22 years old, when I'd go to coffee in the morning, I don't know about you, Stenny, but I wouldn't go with a 20, 21, 22 years old. I always went out with the older guys, the 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds in my coffee club, because I always thought you could learn more from older folks. So on this trip to Israel, there's this older gentleman there and got his wife with him, and so I kind of cozy up to him and think, I can probably learn something from this guy, because he's a little older. And so every time we stop or anything, I'd offer to buy them a soda pop or offer to pay for their dessert. No, we're okay, Billy, we're okay. But they were really a nice couple. And then we get to the Holocaust Museum there in Israel. And etched in granite, etched in stone, a thank you for all the donations to the Holocaust Museum. And it was this guy. I'm not making it up. Sheldon Adelson, you got it. And I know why he didn't need me to buy him a Coke or any dessert. But I represent the 7th District of Missouri, the Queen City of the Ozarks, Springfield, Missouri. It's my home. It's also home to whom? Brad Pitt. Thank you, Dana. Thanks for playing along. Brad Pitt. But I tell you, it's kind of a burden being from the same hometown as Brad. Up here, nobody knows me. I go to Harris Teeter Supermarket. I go out to eat. Nobody bothers me. At home, whether it's the grocery store, the restaurant, the movie theater, they constantly run up, want my autograph. They think I'm Brad Pitt. Well, you know, when you get elected to Congress, are you going to take your wife with you? You going to take your wife with you? Your wife going up there with you? Well, they always want to know your marital status, married, divorced, whatever. Well, I'm proud to report that, and Kevin McCarthy can testify. He knows Barbara very well, but Barbara and I have had 27 years of wedded bliss. 2 for Barbara and 25 for me. But when I was growing up for several years, we didn't even have electricity in the house there in Missouri. But we were a proud people. My mom always had a goal. She said, you know, we need to carpet the bathroom, Bill, my dad's Bill. we need to carpet the bathroom. And so she was on and on. So finally, Dad relented and agreed to carpet our bathroom. And I got to tell you, it did look so nice that we decided to run it all the way up to the house. How am I doing on time? I'll take after that Republican senator didn't show up, whoever he was. Or she was, Edie. But I love that woman. I've been here a year now. I have been here a year now, and I've got to tell you that there's two things I haven't seen in this town. I haven't seen an ugly woman, and I haven't seen a person that I didn't like. And I'm not making that up. There's not one person in this town that I don't like. And one of the nicest guys in Congress, I know you're supposed to be hitting on other people, but I'm going to tell you, that this guy sitting here, Steny Hoyer, legitimately one of the nicest guys in Congress. But I always think back to Ronald Reagan. He was on a trip, going to another country, going to meet a president. And his national security advisor came up to him and said, this guy is just going to tear you up. We've got word that he's really going to hit you hard. And so Ronald Reagan's speechwriter that I was talking to yesterday said so. I told him, said, well, Mr. President, I've already got your speech. I'm hitting the guy pretty hard, but I'm going to double up on it, double down, because I can really do him some damage. And Ronald Reagan said, no, said, don't do that. Don't do that. Do just the opposite. Said, don't attack the person. Attack the policy. Don't attack the person, attack the policy. And I truly, truly wish we could get back to those type of days today up here on the Hill. '68, I'm 13 years old. My boyhood hero, Bob Gibson, is throwing for the St. Louis Cardinals. Against whom? Detroit Tigers. Denny McClain. Denny won 31 games that year. There was a quote in the paper. Denny McClain said, I don't want to beat the Cardinals. I want to embarrass the Cardinals. And as a 13-year-old boy, I thought, why would he say that? And that's how I think it is in politics today, is why we have to, but why we have to, or why a lot of people do, is because they want to get reelected. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, the whole game up here in D.C. is getting reelected. Do whatever it takes to get reelected. And to get reelected, you got to go home every weekend. So you do a lot of plane travel, back and forth. How am I doing on time?
Go, Billy.
Thank you. Glad I said something nice about Steny, even though I didn't mean it. But it truly is getting about realize. So you leave Monday, you fly up here, you go home on Friday. That's the deal. So I don't know who invented that first-class sheer curtain between last class where I fly and first class. You ever seen that curtain that comes down? You can see through it, aggravating, falls on you. I always try and sit in the front row of last class because because you got more legroom there. But they come in and they tinkle their little glasses and they're carrying things. The other day, I promised they brought out this cauldron, this witch's cauldron. There was, I don't know if it was dry ice or what, bubbling out of it. And they always reach in with their tray to serve the person. And I'm in that front row and they put all those drinks and wine and beer and everything right there in my face. But got on a flight the other day in Springfield and the pilot came on and said, well, in case you haven't been in an automobile since 1959, the stewardess here, they don't call them stewardesses, I'm sorry, the flight attendant, Candace, is going to show you how to fasten a seatbelt. And then, of course, you get all the constant warnings while you're in the plane. But one thing I do on a plane is I read a lot. I'm not into this Kindle and whatever the other one is and all that stuff. That's not me. I like the book, the paper. And the other day I was reading a newspaper on the plane. In fact, it was Saturday. When was it? When did I come up here? Steny, when did I come up here? You don't know. You weren't there. When I came up here Monday, I'm reading the USA Today. Rick Warren, Pastor Rick Warren, lost 60 pounds. Great article. The Daniel Plan gets me all motivated. I go home to my apartment. I'm like, I got to look into this because it says in the USA Today, look into the Daniel Plan. So I go to his website, and it's doable. I mean, I think I can do it. I think that'd be good. Then I got up and I went in and I weighed. And my wife got me one of those talking scales for Christmas. I got on it. It said, 1 at a time, please, 1 at a time. I'm thinking, The Daniel Plan, I lose 60 pounds, that'd be like throwing a deck chair off the Titanic. So I went and got some potato chips. A few things to wrap up here. Some things I've read. Donald Rumsfeld's Known and Unknown. I love to read this more recent history to see what the thought process was when they were here on the Hill, working on the Hill in the White House. Great book, Known and Unknown. Michael, and this is you know what Moorah is? Moorah. No. You don't? Where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to college?
Missouri.
Did you really? No, where did you go? I'm serious. Where'd you go? I'll talk slow. Watch my lips. Where'd you go to college?
I was one of the Eastern elites.
He went to Yale? Really? And what college? I know there's like 12 colleges at Yale. What college were you in at Yale?
Animal husbandry.
What? No, seriously, what college were you in?
Trumbull.
Trumbull. Do you know what the cheer is for Trumbull these days? Moo-rah. That's it. All right, because I know somebody that went to Yale. When she got accepted, my wife woke me up. Said, wake up, wake up. Got this letter. Daughter's going to Yale. I said, where's that? I said, what do you want to do at Yale? She said, well, I either want to go into journalism at Yale and be a progressive and a liberal and do stuff like that, or I want to go to med school. So I'm proud to report she's first-year med student at Yale. I mean, she is at University of Missouri now. But, so we do have something in common. You thought we were totally different, totally opposite.
Not at all.
See, I've never met you before tonight, but I really like you. I haven't met anybody in this town I don't like. But anyway, I was going to ask you about Michael. Is it Takeoff or Takeoff? Where somebody works for Huffington Post. Michael Takeoff, he wrote A Complicated Man, The Life of Bill Clinton as told by those who know him. Anybody know how to pronounce it? He does not have a Wikipedia page, I can tell you that. But he's also a Yale graduate. Great book, A Complicated Man, The Life and Times of Bill Clinton. Jim Rassenberger's The Brilliant Disaster, JFK, Castro, and the American Doomed Invasion of Cuba's Bay of Pigs. When you travel a lot, you get to read a lot. And I love David Novak, fraternity brother of mine, University of Missouri. I was a DU. I was in the right fraternity. The girls called it dumb and ugly, DUs. Delta Upsilon. But David was a journalism major at the University of Missouri. And you know what he is today? He was like me. He was a 4-point student at MU. 2 points first semester, 2 points a second. 4-point student, 2 and 2. But anyway, he's the CEO of Yum Brands today and just wrote this book called Taking People With You. Great book, get that. One last book to wrap up with, Mika Brzezinski's. And this is great for this event tonight. Started out, what was it, 6 lady journalists up here? Started this club we're at tonight. Mika wrote, and I bought 3 copies, one for me and one for each of my girls. Knowing your value, women, money, and getting what you're worth. But the premise of her book is a little off because she starts out talking about Joe Scarborough. You know, she wants to make what Joe Scarborough's worth and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, for all you ladies, you don't want to make what your male counterpart is worth. She shouldn't want to make what Joe Scarborough is worth. She should want to make what Joe Scarborough thinks he's worth. And that's what your male counterpart, you want to make what they think they're worth, not what they're really worth. And I think I'm out of time, aren't I? I got more, trust me, I got more. But anyway, just to wrap up on a serious note, I left out some really good stuff, so I'm glad they invited me back for next year already. But on a serious note, May 22nd, Joplin, Missouri, that I represent. I want to thank you all that covered that event. I had a horrific F5 tornado, stayed on the ground for 6 miles, half-mile wide, 6 miles deep, killed 161 people, 8,000 homes were lost, 500 businesses, and John King promised me he would come back. If you all get a chance to do any more report, they pull themselves up with their bootstraps. They're doing great in Joplin, Missouri, but keep them in your thoughts and prayers. If you get a chance to do any more reporting on that, they can always use it. God bless you all. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Blake Farenthold.
Almost forgot the most important part. We're going to auction this, and the money goes to charity. All right, on a Yale baseball cap. I had who get 5, have it a 5, 5 and a quarter, 5 and a half. Oh, that's 75, 600, 6 and a quarter. Thank you.
Great job,
All right. Before breakfast is served, we turn to our closer, Congresswoman Linda Sanchez of California. I confessed I've had a grudge against the Sanchez family ever since her sister Loretta unseated one of my favorite members, B1 Bob Dornan. But the Sanchez sisters, the first sisters to serve simultaneously in Congress, have distinguished themselves in many ways. And first elected in 2002, Linda was the member of Congress who last year said she could not give up her congressional salary of $174,000 during a government shutdown because she is living paycheck to paycheck. Such deadpan statements are probably the reason Sanchez once won the Funniest Celebrity in Washington contest, which bodes well for this evening. And even if she isn't funny, her colleagues would be well advised to laugh because, as noted earlier, she is the ranking member on the Ethics Committee.
Still awake out there? Good evening. It's great to be here tonight. I hope you've had enough drinks by now to make this funny. You laughed at Milbank, so that's a good start. How about a round of applause for Dana Milbank? Thanks for being the MC tonight. Yeah, I really look forward to grabbing a mad bitch beer with you afterwards. Now, I know the point of this evening is that lawmakers are here to roast the press, but really, the reporters that cover Capitol Hill have such a miserable lot in life that I'd feel way too bad doing that. It's sort of like picking on Michelle Bachmann's husband. I've seen you the last few years, believe it or not, staking out Senate and House offices for days during the debate on health care reform, government shutdowns, the debt limit, working Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas. You've spent more holidays with Max Baucus than I've spent with my husband. But if there's an upside to all of that for you guys, it's that you can pretty much use all your stories and just recycle them and fill in the blanks. For example, Republicans are threatening to shut down blank because Rush Limbaugh told them to. Or a senior Republican House leadership source says that Speaker Boehner failed to blank. So I'm not going to roast the press tonight. You will not hear me joke about the time that I did Milbank's internet show and then yelled at the window and doubled my audience. You will not hear me say, speaking of a tiny audience, I want to say hi to everybody watching this on C-SPAN this evening. And I certainly won't stoop to reenact an unabridged 15-second account of Luke Brussert's job interview. I absolutely promise that I will not joke about punishing my toddler by making him watch Fox News Channel, because that's not funny. Quite frankly, that's backfired anyway. Now he wants to have me deported. Instead, I thought that maybe, we could spend a few minutes getting to know each other better. Some of you may know that I was only the 8th member of Congress to give birth while in office, and the excitements of being a mom are huge. Raising a 2-year-old, I think, has prepared me very well to work in the Boehner Congress, or as I like to call it, the Bronze Age. My son is going through a Republican phase right now. Everything is his. He doesn't want me to have anything except his messy diaper. Sounds like a really good GOP slogan to me, what's yours is ours, except the mess we cause, that's yours. Now, y'all need to understand this, okay? My son has literally peed on me. He likes to run around the house naked, and he has trouble controlling his bowels. He says no all the time, but can't come up with his own plans. I'd say that makes him ready for a career in Congress. So that's a little bit about me, but let's talk about you. Do you all miss Rick Perry as much as I do? I mean, that guy knows how to mix up a mean word salad. My favorite was when he told a little kid that evolution was one theory that was out there. Really. And he was pretty damn persuasive because listening to him gave me some doubts about evolution, let me tell you. Like Dana Milbank, I love to follow Newt Gingrich on the campaign trail. As was mentioned earlier, the rock group Survivor actually sued Newt to stop him from playing Eye of the Tiger at his campaign rallies. So apparently Newt doesn't have Eye of the Tiger anymore. However, it looks like he does have an eye for an all-you-can-eat buffet and wife number 4. Another thing that I think I would be instructional and I think I could learn from the press is, who does a girl have to sleep with to get a retweet in this town anyway? I mean, seriously, Twitter has me feeling like a man. I spend all day worrying about the size of my follower count. Call me old-fashioned, but I remember when girls were supposed to keep their numbers low. Okay, out there, quick show of hands. How many of you are heckling me on Twitter right now? Hashtag right back at you. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Well, thank you to all of our wonderful speakers, and thank you again, Dana, for leading us through this evening. I also want to make sure to thank our sponsor, the AOL Huffington Post and The Hill, for the video that we saw earlier. And we'll run it one more time as we're leaving this evening and heading to The Hill's after party. Thanks to our head table, and thanks to all of you for joining us tonight.